Hey, this is Brian Yellow. On number 17 of Origin, Stories on Creativity, Sacha Black visited with us. She has a new book, 13 Steps to Evil, about villains. She's an interesting lady. She's a prolific blogger. She's one of those very motivated people who has goals. She is one of those people that do it. She has a plan and she is sticking to it. On the show notes, she has contact information. Now, I recommend following her on Twitter. I recommend following her blog. I recommend following her, especially if you are into potentially publishing your own work and getting out there in the public and getting eyes on your novel or your stories. She has a plan that's worth following. Her, Emma Hardcastle, they know what they're doing. Hang out, listen to what Sacha Black has to say. Here we go. How are you doing today, Sacha?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm really good. It's nice and sunny here in the UK, so I am.
Is that
good.
sarcasm?
No, it's actually genuinely quite hot.
Oh, is it really? Oh, crazy. Where are you in the UK?
I'm just north of London, about half an hour north from sort of the M25.
Oh, okay. I've never been to the UK.
Okay. Well, kind of central, kind of just north of London. I always say London. Most people know where that is, so.
No, absolutely. I know where London is. It's just one of those places I really, really desperately want to go to. Seems beautiful. London's very crowded, though. Did you grow up there?
For the first couple of years of my life, and then I moved about an hour and a half north into the countryside, and I've kind of been a country bumpkin ever since. Although, I mean, I say country, it's sort of suburbia, I suppose, but covered in a lot of green.
That's good. There's nothing wrong with the green. What made you move back to the London area?
Well, university. So where I am now, I went to university just a few miles away, and I just didn't want to go home. So I stayed here, and I met my partner here, and we kind of made our kind of life here. So.
Okay. Are you done with university at this point?
Yeah. Oh, bless you. Yeah, back to where I went to.
Don't assume. I mean, I was a non-traditional student myself. I was
Oh, really?
Army and then college. So I was like 28 when I graduated.
Oh, okay. No, so well, I just had a big birthday. I turned 30 a couple of months ago.
Oh.
But yeah, so I went to uni about 12 years ago. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What'd you get your degree in?
So my undergraduate was in psychology, and then I went straight after and I did a master's in research methods in cognitive neuropsychology. And then I was on a graduate scheme in kind of like a fast track management environment, and I did another master's in public management. So I was just greedy.
Interesting. So now we're writing a book, or we wrote a book actually. How did that work out?
Yeah. Have to say, didn't think I'd ever use my degree, and now I have, because I find that like character creation and character development is like really quite based on psychology and kind of knowing people. So in the end, I kind of contacted a few of my colleagues back from university who are still working in the sector. I just kind of ran things by them. I got them to read a few of the really key. So there's a chapter in there about mental health, because a lot of villains are kind of, they're often displayed with different mental health disorders. So yeah, anyway, I used my contacts and made sure that all the things that I was writing were still current. So.
That's really interesting. I just talked to a gentleman, I had a conversation with a guy who studies Jung, Carl Jung, and he and I discussed the symbols and literature and this, that. I always thought that psychology would work as a great way to get into literature. What's your book called?
So the one that I just published is called 13 Steps to Evil, How to Craft Super Bad Villains. And I can show you, for anyone that's watching, here it is.
Hold on a second. I don't know if I have you up big. Let's do that again.
There you are. It's a great cover.
Thank you.
Did you design that yourself?
No, I didn't. Well, I mean, obviously I input to various aspects of it. But no, I used a designer and he was amazing, and yeah, kind of really incorporated, you know, my kind of thoughts and desires, as any good designer does.
Are you indie, or are you published professional with a house?
No, 100% indie. I chose to be indie. I will die hard as an indie.
Why is this?
Oh gosh, so many reasons. Where do I even start with that? Okay, so it was partly about control. I don't want something that I have spent, you know, years working on to then have all the decisions made by somebody else, no matter how much kind of experience that publisher might have. You know, I want to decide what the cover looks like. I want to decide when I want to put a sale on. I want to decide how much money I put into marketing. So that was a big reason. The second kind of big reason is because I am not sure I really want to be in the industry in that way, because I think that, you know, the amount of money that traditionally published authors get versus, you know, how much more money you get as an indie is kind of disproportionate to the work that we put in. You know, a traditionally published author still puts the same amount of work in, and yet they get paid tuppence in comparison to somebody that's an indie. So that's another reason. Also, I think that the traditional publishing industry is suffering at the moment. I don't think
we're all suffering, aren't we?
Yeah, but even more so for them, because they're not, they aren't able to change quickly. They're like any corporate organization. It's really hard to get change. And whereas an indie, you know, if I want to do audiobooks, I'm going to do an audiobook. You know, or if I want to focus on the ebook market, I can do that. Whereas the traditional sector is so stuck in its ways, and everybody knows that paperbacks aren't selling as much. So, I mean, there was, you know, 3, 4, 5 different reasons for me to go as an indie.
But this isn't your first book, then.
It's a funny story, that.
Okay.
Technically, no.
Okay. So, I mean, you sound really experienced, and then your vernacular says not first book. So go with funny story. Great.
Okay, so I guess there's 2 reasons for that. The first one is I've been writing for a really long time, but so I have a second lot of books that are going to come out towards the end of the year, and they are young adult fantasy books.
Okay. Oh, fantasy, great.
And but I took a very strategic decision not to publish those books until I had 3 in the series, or almost 3 ready. That's because the majority of indies making money are making their money off box sets and also quick successive releases. So for me, I am in this for the long game. I want to do this full time, and I have no interest in playing at this for fun. So
I would say also another thing that you've done really well, I found you on WordPress.com. You seem to have a big following. You have, number 2, a great personality, and you present yourself just magnificently. I don't know what your following is, but number 1, number 2, Trump number 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've been blogging for 5 years, so I've been around for a while.
All right. Well, that's a good number.
Yeah, I mean, my blog has sort of iterated. When I first started blogging, it was to rant about my life.
Okay.
And then it kind of moved on. I had some personal issues, and that it kind of became a bit of a a life journey thing. And actually, that kind of process really showed me that writing was what I wanted to do. And then very quickly after that, it turned into purely my publishing journey. I think the reason that I have quite a large following is because I tell it how it is with no sugarcoating.
Okay.
And I think people relate to that because, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but when I
cut,
Oh, okay, cool. When I fuck up, I tell people and they laugh with me, and I think that people relate to that. So,
well, the reason that you appealed to me was that you provided me with an outlet. You were a muse in a way. You gave me something to aim for.
wow, that's a very
52
nice
words.
thing to say.
That was really interesting. 50. I like being contained, and 52 words gave me something to work with when I was, writing in the morning. And I like that.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we have to write these really long prose like novels, and actually sometimes you can say more in a sentence than you can sometimes in an entire novel. And I think that it's a different type of muscle that we exercise when we force ourselves into that box.
Totally. I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm writing several things while I'm writing your 52 words. I'm writing, a drabble on Wednesday, or I'm writing your 52 words, or I'm writing a longer 250 word piece here. But I've got a 5,000 word short fiction piece going, or a novel going, or something along those lines on the side of the shorter piece. And it just works for some reason. I just like it a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people find that, and also because 52 words is such a short number, there's no excuses not to do it because it doesn't take long. And I think that's one of the things that people really like, and why I get so many entries, and why I've had to stop publishing them all, like collecting them all and publishing them all, because it was taking me hours every week. But yeah, I do make sure I read them all, and I always comment, and share them, because I love reading them. I read a huge novel, so sometimes when I get to read just short excerpts from people, I really love it. So
when you write so much, it's really difficult to find yourself in a novel.
Yeah.
When you have kids, for that matter, it's hard to find yourself in a novel.
Yeah, it is. You read a sentence and it's like, Mom.
Oh, I have to check in with Reddit, or I have to check my Twitter now.
Yeah.
So you've got the series. That's an interesting concept too. So are you going to roll out all 3 of your YA fantasy novels at the same time, or what is your plan with the rollout?
So what I plan to do is I'm on the very final edit of the first book. And I would like to hand that to, originally I was going to aim to hand it to my editor at the end of June. That's not going to happen. So now I think I'm going to set myself the goal of finishing it by the 20th of August for a very interesting reason, which I will tell you about. And then I'm going to hand that off to my editor, and I'm going to start drafting the second and third book. They're both kind of detailed outlines at the moment. And I guess what I will do is publish the first when the second one is with the editor and the first one has had its, I'm going to publish the first when the second one's with the editor and I finished drafting the third. That's kind of my plan.
So the third one's not written yet then?
No.
What is the series about, if you don't mind I ask?
It's based in the Netherworld, and it's the kind of
Netherworld is in the afterlife.
No, I hadn't read any books like called the Netherworld, and then after I wrote it, it was too late. I'd already chose the name. But yeah, no, it's just in a place called the Netherworld, which I've made up, and I've got maps that I'm having custom drawn for the book and stuff. And it's based on 4 kind of distinct powers. So you have shifters, you have sorcerers, you have people that control the elements, and you have sirens, and they control kind of emotions. And there's like a hierarchy and a structure, and it's based on balance. So the keepers, they have to keep the balance with the earth and the people on the earth, and basically. I'm not very good at selling this. I should have just read you my blurb.
Oh, my thought. I mean, you write 60, 70,000 words for these novels, and then I ask you to tell me what it is in less than 100 words.
I know.
It's impossible.
Just read you my blurb.
Just read me the book. Just go ahead and read me the book.
Oh dear, fail.
No, that's completely acceptable. And you did a good job. I mean, totally. And I was sitting here thinking, I'm wondering, I mean, you're a psychologist, and that's what you do by trade. Is that correct?
No, I was going to, but I ended up on a graduate scheme in local government. So I'm like a program manager, and I just lost my headphone here. And I manage change and transformation. So basically make the business more efficient, save money where needs to. I change sort of business processes, make things better for the customer. Basically, where there's a problem, I go in and fix it.
You were saying balance, and would that be your training coming into your fiction, do you think?
I kind of see it more as like my hippie side, and like the balance of fate, and kind of do we have a destiny, do we not have a destiny? So that's kind of the more fantastical side of it. Yeah.
Interesting. So do you determine that we have a fate? Do you think we have a fate? That's predetermination, correct?
Yeah, I think we've probably been here before. I don't know if we have a fate. I'm not sure. But I am really interested in conspiracies, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration for like my fantasy stories. So
it's hard not to be interested in conspiracies nowadays.
I know, right? There's so many interesting ones.
Which is your favorite?
At the moment, probably Flat Earth.
Let me throw up a little bit. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm now writing a fantasy. Well, I say writing. I've written about 12,000 words of it, but I've outlined a book based on that theory, and it just is,
it's really yummy if you think about the fact that there's a lot of people out there that love the idea the Earth is flat. Just give it up on rationality completely. You know what? The world is flat.
Wow. It provides for awesome story fodder.
It really does. I mean, sorry, the Earth is flat. It's surrounded by a rim of ice, and the sun is just a ball of fire that circles.
Or a halogen light bulb.
It's a halogen light bulb. Excuse me. Obviously, it's not a center of anything. I just think that we're in such a weird situation in this place in history. We have satellites circling our planet. We have drones on Mars. We have satellites entering the sphere of Jupiter, and people on our planet have given up on all rationality. I think that's the greatest conspiracy, honestly. What is going on?
I have no idea, but all I care about is I get great story ideas from it.
Right.
So,
what are you going to do with it? Like, what are you thinking? Oh, what am I asking? You're going to tell me your whole
plot.
Yeah,
well,
right.
I am.
Hold on. Talk slower. Let me write down. That's. I'm joking.
No, I didn't hear. I didn't hear what you said. So I was like, wait.
I said write slower so I could write this down.
Oh. No, but seriously, it's a really hot topic right now, and I'm sure that would mean that there is a great big. Yeah, exactly. So I am sure if somebody wrote a story, that it'd be quite popular. So yeah, I mean, I want to write a young adult fantasy, obviously. Kind of series with a bit of a kind of female Indiana Jones style character, and that is all I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well, let me ask you about your protagonist in your fantasy series. Is it strong female lead?
Yeah, of course. I'm a bit of a one for having a strong female lead. She's called Eden East, which I didn't know there was a thing called Eden of the East, which I don't even know what that is. But anyway, I got told afterwards. They were like, "Did you copy that?" And I was like, "What is it?" So yeah, she's called Eden East, and she's an elemental keeper, and yeah, she's a bit feisty, a bit stubborn, not like anyone at all that I know. At all. Yeah.
Are you feisty?
A little bit. And she also there's like a sort of subplot love story in there as well.
So I mean, just the idea, Wonder Woman just came out to a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa.
Women fantasy protagonists have not fared well in fiction and movies. Just not very, demographically have not fared very well. And it needs to be. I mean, they are treated horribly. The trope is what, like the iron bikini.
Yeah, you say that, But when you look at the young adult genre at the moment, it is rife with strong female protagonists. Like, look at the Hunger Games, look at Divergent.
Oh yeah.
You look at Sarah J. Maas writing A Court of Thorn Roses, and her other ones I can't remember. Cassandra Clare, although the protagonist in that is a bit, love struck. But there are a lot of strong female characters, particularly in young adult stories at the moment, although there is a huge resurgence in contemporary young adult fiction, and so there's a lot of kind of like high school first lovey type, but now we're seeing a lot more like diversity in there. So everything is a film coming out. And so Nicola Yoon, I don't quite know how to pronounce her surname, but I read that in a night, and it's fantastic. And strong female protagonist, they are coming back. I don't know about other genres, but young adult is kind of my specialism, so that's.
You said something very, very interesting. You said diversity. That just really rings true to me. Instead of having a strong female protagonist or a strong male protagonist, it'd be nice to have a strong human protagonist. You know what I mean? What's neither female or male.
Yeah.
Where you identify with them because they're just strong. I mean, yes, they might be male, yes, they might be female, but they're neither. Doesn't matter to the plot whether they're one way or the other. And does that make sense, or does it just ridiculous?
No, absolutely. There's so an indie author called Bella Forrest, who has sold I think like over 1 million books or something. She's just released a new series called The Gender Game, I think it is, something like that. But she's not the only one, actually, and I think I've seen 2 or 3 sort of from big-ish authors recently who have written gender neutral characters. I review on NetGalley, and I'm just trying to think of the other one that I saw recently. The name's eluding me at the moment, but I'm seeing lesbian characters, I'm seeing gay characters, I'm seeing characters with disabilities. There's tons of it, and I think that's right, because typically very, very popular fiction does not represent society.
Represents a character, represents a story, right? Represents what does popular fiction represent?
Well,
a good plot. I mean, everything mixed together in this tight little ball of entertainment, correct?
Yeah.
You said you read you mispronounced her name. I want to do the same because I don't know who you were talking about. Yoon, Jun?
Yoon.
Oh, okay. Is that the you read it at night? So I mean, was that a nice little tight ball of entertainment? Or are you disappointed that it only took you a night?
No. So Nicola Yoon, I think that's how you say it. She is the author of the book Everything, which is the film that's coming out. And I read it in a night because it was fantastic. And the characters.
And how often does that happen to you? I mean, that's what you look for when you pick up a book. That's what you want to have. That hunger to flip the page. Maybe
once a month I'll read a book in a night, and then usually it'll take me a couple of days, 2-3 days to read a book. But yeah, so I mean, it does maybe more than once a month. I don't know, not like that. So that was like, I literally couldn't put it down.
Last time that happened to me was Patrick Rufus's Name of the Wind.
Is he the guy that wrote the monster one?
No, he's only written like 2 books, and he's a horrible procrastinator. He can't write the 3rd one to save his life. It's been like almost a decade.
Oh no. That's so frustrating as a reader.
It's so bad. And the 2nd one wasn't even that. It wasn't spectacular. It had the same great kind of character movement, but it's like, dude, you're driving me crazy. And the 3rd one's not even out yet, and it's turning into a television series.
That is why I won't publish until I have 3.
Yeah, such a jerk. Ready. Seems like a great guy though. He looks really cool, but man, like, dude, come on. Ready Player One was another one like that. If you know what I'm talking about, just sucked me in. I read it in a night.
Yeah, I love it.
Rarely happens though. I love it. Yeah, it just doesn't happen enough.
It's like TV series when you like. I don't often watch TV, but then I like to like wait until the whole season's finished, and then I will just sit and binge the whole thing.
Love it. I'm watching House of Cards right now, and it hasn't really done that to me. Maybe it's just House of Cards.
Yeah, I've tried twice with House of Cards and can't get past the first episode.
Did you do the BBC one?
The one with Kevin Spacey.
But did you do the BBC version? I can't remember the name of it though.
It was on Netflix.
It was based on a BBC series.
I don't know.
That I can't remember the name of. So I'm not doing anything any justice. To get back to entertainment though, in terms of character and plot and setting and all that good stuff, do you think that the Yoon novel was what made it so compelling? Do you think?
Very good question.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you could figure out what the magic is, you would just duplicate it. But
right, exactly.
What made it so compelling to read the night? Was it just everything, the timing of picking it up, or?
No, I think so. There were a couple of books that are in the same kind of genre. Like I'm sort of falling in love with young adult contemporary fiction at the moment, which is not good when I write young adult fantasy. I should be sticking with fantasy, but I guess you get overwhelmed by writing that genre all the time and have to read something else. But anyway, I digress. I think it's a mixture of things. I think the characters are really well written. I think something that I talk about in my own book is the power of like consistency, and the fact that in order to get sort of believable characters, they need to behave consistently until suddenly they don't, because that's what humans are like. We behave consistently. We have traits and personality, and we're predictable until something throws us off balance, and then we're not predictable anymore. And I think she kind of captured that quite well. I think she captured a really good sort of character arc. What else? I love a bit of teenage drama and angst, and I am a bit of a sucker for a romance story as well. Not romance as in your typical sort of adult romance, really popular genre, but you know, that first love. I love that, and she did that really, really well.
Now, did she have an antagonist?
In a way, yes. So there were kind of two. So the main character is really sick and can't leave the house. So the antagonist is more of a conflict in terms of a restriction on the protagonist, and it's how that sort of having to live in a bubble syndrome prevents her from falling in love, and how that she kind of overcomes that. And then there was a character, and basically her mum sort of doesn't really allow her to do anything, so there was kind of a bit of conflict there as well, which is interesting because normally I will fall for a book that is really heavily based on conflict, and so that was, I guess, more internal conflict in that book.
That's interesting. How does that measure up with your thinking in your book?
My fantasy book, or in the
one that you're publishing just tomorrow?
Just now.
I think?
Yeah. Okay. So so the whole book is based on the premise that that your hero is not the most important character, your villain is.
I agree. I mean, you can have a Mary Jane who does everything right, but man, if you set something against them that makes them struggle, that's a good book.
Exactly, because everybody that's what keeps people reading, is the hero's journey, and you don't have a hero's journey without a villain forcing them on that journey. So yeah, I mean, for me, conflict is kind of everything. I think conflict is the very source of a plot, and if you don't have it, you don't have a story.
100%.
Yeah.
And conflict is the villain in this story. The confinement of the house. The confinement is actually, I guess, the whole challenge of the Yoon story.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, she's locked in a bubble in her room, and the whole house, you know, it's all like a airlock and stuff for people to go in and out. And there's a wicked twist at the end. I'm trying really hard not to tell you what it is, but
spoiler alert.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying not to, because it's going to be a film and people get cross when, you know, I spoil things. So
so what do you see in terms of the future? I mean, a lot of people I talked to, you're my 17th interview.
Wow.
And some people talk about, it doesn't seem like very much. I want hundreds.
It seems like a lot to me. There's a lot of work to organize them.
No, it really is, honestly. I mean, I get some people who say, sure, and then they never get back with me to schedule. And then some people say, get back with me to schedule, and then they won't show up for the interview. It's like, oh,
yeah,
come on. And then my website. Oh my God, I'm so annoyed. What was I at? What was I talking about just now?
The future.
The future. Some people are all about publishing. They call it the the apple picker, basically, the selector of all the talent, the slush pile, picking the creme de la creme. Do you think that they'll ever recover? I mean, yes, it's a corporate boardroom of people discussing the future and a gigantic machine trying to navigate tight corners with little tiny us trying to, wiggle out from underneath it. But so many of us, that's my problem, is that the slush pile is gigantic. There's so many people, and you've been in it 5 years. You see the kind of people that they're writing, that we're buried under, that we're buried with.
I think that
they affect our reputation.
Oh, sorry, say that one again.
They affect our reputation, the other people that we're with.
Yeah. I think that the traditional publishing industry won't ever die completely, because there are always going to be people that want physical books. I think there's a certain je ne sais quoi about having a physical copy of a book. And certainly for diehard readers, I still buy equal amounts of paperbacks to ebooks. So I don't think it's ever going to die completely. I don't think it's going to recover. I don't think it will ever own the majority of the sales again. I think they can't unless they skip a whole kind of technology iteration of technology and jump to whatever is going to happen next. I don't think they're going to catch up. As for indies, I think that eventually there will be a kind of a split between those that are very, very business minded and look at this as a business, and those that just want to publish a couple of books, or even those that really want to publish lots of books but aren't looking at it like a business. If you're going to be indie, I'm afraid that's, writing the books is only half of your job. And if you can't look at your books as assets and think about how you can iterate them and how else can you, what else can you do with this book to make money, then, indies are never going to earn enough money to do it full time.
Well, that's an interesting topic. Then let's discuss a book as a business. How do you do it? How do you look at a book as a business?
Well, Joanna Penn is a big source of inspiration for me on this topic. And I really like her model, and her model is to look at all the different types of income streams. So a book isn't just a book, it's a paperback, it's an ebook, it could be an audio book. If it's nonfiction, it's even easier to iterate because, so I've got my textbook, but actually I'm trying to develop a workbook to go with it, because some people really like the kind of process of exercises, and this topic in particular lends itself to that. So then there'll be a workbook. So then that's 2 products kind of out of one, and then I can box set them. That's another one, and then I'm trying to also develop a short course for people to do. That's another income stream. Lots of people, I've written a book and got a ton of knowledge and expertise on creating villains. I could do workshops, or I could speak, so all these different things come out from just one book. And the same can be said for writing fiction. And you have a paper book, you have an ebook, you have a box set, you can
a YouTube show.
Right, exactly. A podcast, reading fiction, or there are so many different things that you can do. I mean, my God, we are creative people.
Yeah.
Why do so many people just see their book as a book? It's not just a book.
What is this woman's name again, so I could just write it down and put it in the show notes?
Sure. Joanna Penn, and her website is The Creative Pen with 2 N's. I think .com or something. But if you Google The Creative Pen, and pen being 2 N's on the end.
2 N's, okay.
Yeah. Then,
I just spelled it with 2 E's because I'm me. The woman who got me into thinking that I could actually live my dream of having my own very own podcast is named Emma Hardcastle. She's up in Yorkshire.
Oh,
She's so fascinating. She is very goal driven. She wrote a list of things before 2016 was over with, or 2015 was over with. She was going to sell 1,000 copies of her book. She was going to get on the radio, blah, 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 blah. And she hit every single one of them right on the head.
good
By
for
the end
her.
of, yeah, exactly. By the end of 16, she said she was going to do a number of different things, and she hit every single one of them on the head as well. And she's on her way to achieving all the goals that she set for 2017 as well. I mean, these aren't like astronomical things either, and she's
Yeah,
doing it,
I
and
have.
she's working her job. And
I'm a very goal orientated person, and every year I never make New Year's resolutions because I don't believe people keep New Year's resolutions, but I do make annual goals. And I also have an accountability partner. So every month I have a FaceTime or Skype conversation with my accountability partner, and each of us agrees 3 goals for that month that we have to deliver. And if you don't deliver, there are penalties to not delivering. And then we share a Trello board, which is like a kind of a task management type
Gotcha.
piece of software online. And we update progress throughout the month. And also just to point out, so I say what I want my goals to be. And if my accountability partner doesn't think they're hard enough or good enough, like she will up my goal. So they are in agreement with each other. And then at the end of every month, we have a catch-up call where we talk about progress from the previous month. And we do like quarterly business reviews as well. And then like a big annual one with wine at the end of the year. And I tell you what, this is how focused and driven it made the pair of us. Before we started our monthly meetings, my average weekly word count was 3,000 words. Hers was 1,000. By the time we got, I think, 6 months in, I was writing nearly 10,000 words a week, and
Wow.
she was writing nearly 5, I think it was. I mean, obviously, sometimes it goes in ebbs and flows because right now I'm editing, so I'm not producing new words. But you know, it is unbelievable what having somebody else demanding and expecting you to kind of deliver does for your like productivity.
Let me ask you, I mean, you're a woman who has a job, you have a career, you have a master's degree. I don't know what the thing you said after your master's degree is, because I'm an American and that sounds really, really prestigious. You have a child, you have a partner. What drives you so hard to do this other thing that's unattached to your profession?
Wow, that is a really good, really deep question.
Do you want to answer it, or does it make you uncomfortable?
No, it doesn't at all. I think it's a brilliant question. What drives me? Freedom is the first thing. I never want to be beholden to one organization. I'm in a situation where I'm kind of trapped in the job that I'm in, and I'm not particularly enjoying what I'm doing. And so whilst it pays bills and I try really hard in my job, it's not my dream. And I think a lot of people have that kind of syndrome where they do what they do because they need to pay the bills and, you know, bring their family up, but it's not their dream. I really want to be free to create all day, every day. I want to be my own boss. I don't particularly like hierarchy or having anybody tell me what to do.
But you're telling yourself what to do.
Right. And I have,
you're your own boss.
Yeah, exactly. And I have unreasonably high expectations of myself.
That's
so,
cool.
yeah.
But you know, I think you said it more than anything else. It's the creativity, isn't it? It speaks to you. You like putting those words on paper. Even before you set your high expectations, you were putting words on paper.
Yeah, it's like a compulsion. It's like if I don't write or sort of do something that is towards my creativity every day, I get really grumpy. Like it fills my head, and I have to just like expel it. I don't know how to, you know, it's like scratching an itch you can't quite reach. Like when you write, like all of a sudden you've caught that itch and you feel really good. I sound such a
I
weird way to
understand.
describe it, but...
I understand completely, because I feel that same little itchy spot. I mean, how does it feel to actually provide that kind of muse for people with your 52 words? And then take it away, you jerk.
When I first started doing them, it was because I wanted to stop procrastinating. And then, excuse me, when people started joining in, it was amazing that so many people found them inspiring. And you know, some people have gone on to write entire like stories, and you know, it's humbling and awesome, and I don't really know how to answer that question because it's wicked that so many people join in. I love that people love the prompts, and that is like so satisfying to me that I you know, and some people get really cross at me because I'll do like a really hard one week, or you know, and it's just, yeah, it's great interaction, and it's a really good community.
It's just, it doesn't even have to be very hard. I mean, it's just gonna be like one word. It could be just a simple thing. And the fact that another human being is expecting some words from you, it just makes it, I mean, I find it interesting. I mean, you're not the only one that does it. There's a bunch of other people that kind of put up these words, these pictures, these really boring pictures. I mean, they're not even that great pictures. And there are hundreds of people that put up stories.
Yeah.
People are desperate.
Yeah.
For some kind of, what?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to hear what you have to say. You're the reason that I'm doing this. I want to hear your opinions.
I think that having that inspiration from somebody else, it's you know how like we can't tickle ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, go please. That's really a great idea.
Right, it's that kind of a thing. Yes, we can generate stories and we can, you know, fill our inspiration bucket. But when somebody else is providing that prompt, it's like being tickled. Like you can't tickle yourself, but when somebody else tickles you, it tickles a lot.
Oh, yes.
And that's kind of how I see it. I
tried to tickle myself the other day with a word of a day. I tried to go on like a dictionary site and try to find a word of a day and just try to write a 100-word drabble or something, and nope, didn't work. Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. That's amazing. Where are we at in our conversation? So you're going to be publishing.
I just published this one, 13 Steps to Evil.
I'm going to make you big again so everybody can see it. Where are you? There you are. 13 Steps to Evil. And what's the gist?
So it will take any writer from ground up how to develop your villain, your antagonist. Well, first of all, it tells you the difference between the two. It talks about everything from conflict to motives and goals, history, looking at the psychology of villains. It looks at credibility and authenticity. It looks at mental health. I'm now just glancing because I can't hold a whole book in my head. It looks at archetypes, anti-heroes. It looks at cliches, because there are a lot of cliche villains out there. It looks at traits. It looks at conflict and climax. It looks at you know, endings, different types of book endings, and it also looks at introductions, how to introduce a villain. So it's kind of a full on, like start to finish, you know, step 1 to step 13 guide to how to write a villain for genre.
Would you recommend writing a book without a hero? I was just thinking, I wonder if that's even possible. Like the wicked element, making the bad guy some kind of heroic.
Yeah, I think
that would just kind of eliminate the whole villain aspect of the character, though, huh?
Well, it depends. So, like Hannibal Lecter is actually the protagonist of Silence of the Lambs, because he is who the story is about, but he is not the hero. Clarice Starling, the kind of lesser character, but you know, the sort of the female role in it, is actually the story's hero. So I think, yes, you can write a story, and also look at Gone Girl. You know, a few years ago there was like a psychological thriller, and spoiler alert, everybody, if you haven't read or watched Gone Girl, I'm going to spoil it for you right now. So there are two characters, and there's a husband and wife, and the wife gets kidnapped. and then comes back, and basically the whole story is who is the bad guy, and the husband gets made out to be the bad guy, and actually it was her all along. So she is kind of the villain and like who the story is about, but the hero is actually the husband. So I think there are a lot of, well, not a lot, but I think there are examples of where the protagonist isn't always a hero.
So if you had to sum up what an antagonist is, what would it be?
An antagonist is any character or concept that opposes the hero or protagonist, but in a non-violent way. So a villain typically has evil or violent traits. That's kind of the key difference.
Interesting. And where can we buy your book?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, all good bookstores. So I've chosen to go wide. I'm not exclusive to Amazon, so it's on, you know, iBooks, Kobo, Nook, Amazon, of course. It's paperback and ebook. It's on Tolino, I think, the Book Depository. We're running out of places, but yeah, all the places it can be. It's on all the places.
all the places. That is a great place.
Places.
Do I have a list of places to buy your book? Did you give that to me in the
I think I did, actually. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. And where are you going to be coming up? Any place else?
Yeah, so I have a blog tour. I'm actually going to be on Joanna Penn's website on the 30th of June. Okay. I don't know how I did it, but I managed to get my two writing heroes to allow me to post on their website. So Joanna Penn is one.
How did you do it? That's
I'll
important.
tell you that in a second. And then Angela Ackerman, who wrote The Emotion Thesaurus. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
It's like one of the best writing craft books I've ever read. So she, and I can show you that one too.
Oh yeah, you're big.
Her book. She's amazing. Everybody should buy this book.
I started pacing again, and I just left you big.
Okay. Hi, Mom. No, I'm joking. So I don't even know what I was saying. Hang on. So yeah, and I'm going to be on her website as well. And her web, it's just slipped my mind. I think it's Writers Helping Writers. How did I met Joanna Penn at the London Book Fair. And Angela Ackerman I've been following for donkey's years, and I guess over time of commenting and stuff, you build up a relationship and sharing things for them and helping with launches and stuff. So yeah, that's
really cool. So you're going to be blog touring. That's fantastic. Am I missing anything? You want to add anything to the conversation that I should have mentioned that I did not?
Do I want to add anything? Only that if you are in the UK, or you can get to the UK on the 10th of June, I host an annual event called the Annual Bloggers Bash. And it is both a sort of double-pronged one. One side is an award ceremony. So we run awards for bloggers, voted for and nominated by bloggers. And there's also like a big social get-together award ceremony. We're going to have speakers and a big panel debate as well. And it's in London. And we do have people from all over the world. We've got Americans, Canadians, Europeans coming. And so if you want to find out about that, go on my website. And in my menu bar, I have a Annual Bloggers Bash tab. You can find out all about it there.
Fantastic. Well, I got to say, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is an experience. I ramble. I go all over the place. There's no map to any of these conversations. I got yelled at yesterday by my guest because there is no direction I take. But I get to meet some really cool people, and you are definitely a fascinating human being, and I enjoyed talking with you. And I wish you all the luck in the world, not only with this book, but with your life and with your upcoming trilogy.
Thank you. I wish you luck too. I kind of feel like I wish I could have interviewed you now a little bit, but thank you very much.
I'm a horrible interview. You get like 2-word answers. I won't tell you anything. That's like the worst thing about me. I have a novel on Amazon. I won't tell you anything about it. You have to go read it. You should go. And you know who you should talk to? I'll send you a link to Emma Hardcastle. She'll interview you as well. She's a fantastic person. I think you'd hit it off very nicely.
Amazing. I'd love to. Thank you.
Cool. No problem. Nice talking with you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Sacha Black. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed that conversation. Lewis Ogden is up and coming. She is number 18 on Origin. She's an author. She's also a moderator on Reddit. She had a lot of interesting things to say. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, BryYellow. Follow on iTunes. Follow on Stitcher. Rate, comment. Really would appreciate it. BryAndYellow.com is my website. If you have comments, questions, shoot me an email. Email address is, let's go ahead and make it frogger494@gmail.com. Otherwise, have a great day, and we will see you next time with Louise Ogden.